A legal document might sound a little dry, but it can tell you a ton about a community. Today, we're going to crack open the Hannahville Indian Community's Liquor Control Code. We'll see exactly how they run things and what their rules really say about who they are. Let's dive in. So, have you ever really thought about it? When you're on tribal land, maybe at a casino or a local store, and you buy a drink, who's actually setting the rules for that? It seems like a simple question, but the answer gets right to the heart of huge ideas like sovereignty and self-governance. Well, all those answers are right here in the official rulebook. What we're going to do is take this dense legal text and turn it into a straightforward story. A story about how this community handles a really complex issue and what it shows us about the principles they live by. Okay, so first things first. Who's calling the shots? Where does the buck really stop when it comes to these rules? And the code doesn't mess around here. It is crystal clear. The power to do everything, licensing, permits, taxes, it all rests with one group and one group only, the Tribal Council. They have the absolute final say on anything and everything related to alcohol in their jurisdiction. Yeah, and I want you to see this. This isn't just some friendly suggestion. It's a powerful declaration of authority. When you read the words straight from the code, you're seeing a community exercising its fundamental right to govern itself. It's sovereignty in action. All right, so we know who's in charge. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty, the rules that affect people every single day. The basic stuff, buying and selling. First up, the big one. How old do you have to be to buy alcohol? The code is very specific. You've got to be at least 21, and you better have your ID ready. This lines up with the laws in the surrounding state of Michigan, which makes a lot of sense. But here's where it gets interesting. The code actually makes a distinction. To buy alcohol, you need to be 21. But to sell it, you only have to be 18, provided you're working for a licensed business, of course. Okay, so let's switch gears. What if you wanted to open a business that serves alcohol there? Well, you can't just throw up a sign and open the doors. No. The code lays out a really specific process you have to follow. So you've got to prove you're serious. It's a whole process. You submit your application, you have to show you've got the financial backing, and you need to provide a solid plan for the physical space. After all that, it goes to the council, and they're looking at it through one main lens. Is this actually a good thing for the community? Just to give you a real-world example, let's talk about a Class C license. That's a common one mentioned in the code. Think of a restaurant or a bar. That's the kind of license they'd need. It lets them sell pretty much everything, beer, wine, spirits, for you to drink right there on the premises. And this part is huge. It's another powerful statement about their authority. The code makes it absolutely clear when the tribal council decides on a license, that's it. The decision is final. There's no one else to go to, no appeal process. Their word is the last word. Okay, so let's say you made it through. You've got your license. So now what? Well, now you have to follow a whole new set of pretty strict rules for how to run your business. It's really the nuts and bolts of running a responsible business. For starters, your license can't be hidden away. It has to be posted where everyone can see it. And that license is yours. You can't just transfer it to a buddy. You also have to carry liability insurance, which is super important. The code also says that as the owner, you're on the hook for what your employees do. And of course, a big one, no selling liquor that's been tampered with or isn't what the label says it is. Then there are the big no-nos, the things you absolutely cannot do. And these are all about keeping people safe. For example, you are strictly forbidden from selling to someone who is clearly already intoxicated. You also can't just let an intoxicated person hang around and keep drinking. And obviously, you have to sell only during the hours you're allowed to. And speaking of hours, check out this super specific rule. For about 12 hours, from just before midnight on Christmas Eve until noon on Christmas Day, all alcohol sales have to stop, completely. It's a small detail, maybe, but it's a perfect example of how the community can write rules that reflect its own specific values. All right, so rules are great, but they're only as good as the consequences, right? So what happens if someone actually breaks these rules? What are the penalties? This is where we see that idea of sovereignty in action again, because the penalties are different depending on who you are. For a tribal member who breaks the rules, the consequences can be serious. We're talking up to a year in jail, a big fine, or even both. But for a non-member, the penalties are civil. That means a fine, again, up to $5,000, and they could even have to forfeit personal property. Did you catch that number? $5,000. It shows up for both violators, tribal members and non-members. That number is the maximum financial hit for any single violation. It's meant to be a serious deterrent to make people think twice. So how does this all play out? Well, the process itself is pretty straightforward. The tribal police investigate any violation that's reported. They gather the facts and report back to, you guessed it, the tribal council. And the council holds all the cards. They have the power to suspend a license or even revoke it completely. So when you put it all together, you can see this is so much more than just a list of do's and don'ts about alcohol. It's a complete framework for self-governance. Every single rule we've talked about, from how you get a license to those specific Christmas hours, it's all part of a bigger system. A system designed to keep people safe and to powerfully express the community's right to run its own affairs. You know, diving into a legal code like this one really shows you the mechanics of self-governance up close. It's not just an abstract idea, it's right there in the text. And it kind of leaves you with a bigger question to think about, right? How does having the power to make and enforce your own rules, how does that shape not just how safe a community is, but its very identity and its future?